This video is brought to you by Refrigeration Technologies. So you guys had mentioned before working for a boss, or you kind of glanced across it, working for a boss that doesn't have experience in the industry, maybe not with getting his hands dirty. Has any of you worked for a boss that was inexperienced as far as a technician would go? Two.
Yeah, I did.
All right,
twice.
tell us about that.
So the first guy, he was pretty arrogant. He had money, and he bought into a couple of air conditioners.
You don't like this guy already. He's
No,
arrogant.
no. You know what?
Oh my.
He had a stroke. And the old service manager for that company, this is how well the guy's liked, said couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Jeez Louise, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ow.
Anyways, what?
I guess you didn't like this particular style of boss.
No. 'Cause he was very, very, very arrogant. He's the type that would, you walk into his office, tell him you're struggling, and he takes you to lunch in his Corvette just to show it off. That's the type of guy that guy was.
Do you think that's typical? Somebody who doesn't have experience, that owns a company, is a sales style personality that just bought a company?
Yeah.
For both of them? You had two. Is that both of them?
Well, and the other one was he wanted to do good, but he just didn't have the experience. So he didn't know how to really run an air conditioning company and to deal with techs. He was trying to run the company like he would run his grocery stores. So it was totally different.
Is that what caused you to leave those companies?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ralph.
Yep.
Hold on, let's see. Hold on. Beaver, how about you?
No, I think everybody I've ever worked for was very experienced. So
That's good.
I've never had a boss that hadn't at some point been in the field.
What's interesting is my father couldn't fix an air conditioner to save his life. He couldn't do anything like that. We had to learn that separately, completely on our own. Have to learn how to repair equipment.
Yeah, we had this conversation, didn't we?
Yeah,
about installers wanting to switch over to service, and I said, believe it or not, there are installers out there that never have any intentions in moving to service.
Along that story, my father started his company in 1987, and probably a stark difference to you, Bryan. Your father was probably quite capable of making repairs and doing things like that. My father was a design person. Like, he would do load calculations, he would do duct design, but as for physically doing stuff, that wasn't his area. So for the first several years of his company, they would do this work. They thrust themselves into this part of the field and just made a multitude of errors. They worked in concert with a service company that was like a sister company. And you talk about nitrogen leaks, like not even pressure testing with nitrogen, just doing a job, leaving it, and then they pressure check at the end and figure out there's a whole bunch of leaks in the walls. Just nightmares like that. And we really had to learn how to do that stuff on our own because we had to go through the same thing a generation later. Whenever I was working, same thing, same hard knocks. It's very interesting. He was a great boss. He was a good dad, but didn't learn a single thing from him. HVAC technician-wise, it's a really awkward way to come up in the field. But man, I could install, and man, I could do load calculations. It's totally backwards. But for me, that was interesting. I mean, I don't think you can do it any other way. I think I did a podcast recently where we said, is it destiny for things to work out the way they are? Talk about going deep. Here we go. Ready, everybody? Is it destiny for you to travel, even through the trade, the way you do? Does that develop you into the person you're supposed to be? Do you guys believe that's true? Silence.
Well, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to just jump out there and
jump in there, Bryan.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I believe in God, so I think that obviously He has a hand in guiding the paths that we take, and also just as a general rule, hardship isn't fatal. It's good for us to go through hard things and to learn in less than ideal situations. That it accelerates our learning. It accelerates our hunger to get better. And so that's actually something that is hard to artificially create within an organization when things are good for so long. And, we face that sometimes. It's actually been, to some degree, good what's gone on with COVID-19 for us as an organization because of the hardship that comes along, and now you have to adjust, and you have to make some cuts, and you have to do some things you wouldn't otherwise do without that hardship. And I think that's true of all the different layers in our lives. Is like, yeah, sometimes things have to be difficult for us to become what we are and be pushed to be better.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's how you get through hardship. You have to rationalize the fact that it's going to be a stepping stone in some way, shape, or form for what you're going to become. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Is that a summary of what you just said? I don't know. I was reading the chat. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It was a good summary. It was beautiful. I think you too can someday aspire to be the voice of the industry if you keep giving summaries like that.
Dude, they don't want me.
Oh, wow.
They don't want me, and you know it.